A tense face-off on Capitol Hill over the IRS. Is the IRS pinched for money or just reckless with yours? And tonight, only right here on the record, IRS Commissioner John Koskinen and Congressman Peter Roskam, chairman of the House panel that grilled the IRS chief, both men going on the record in seconds. But first, you just may want to shake your head in disgust. Bonuses, unions, and Obamacare, that's what the IRS was spending millions of dollars on, all while ignoring your phone calls for help in the height of tax season.
Congress has, in fact, cut our revenues to a point and resources to a point that we're not as effective as we ought to be.
You can't run around town telling everybody that you're out of money and that's the reason you can't do your job, and saying it's those doggone people up in Congress. If they just give us more money, we'd do a better job. Seriously, when you had that meeting and you put out that directive, what was it that you were trying to achieve? Was it better morale?
First of all, we value customer service, but when you cut the budget $1,200,000,000,
No.
we lose 17,000 people. We don't have enough people anyway, so we've cut enforcement.
If you don't have enough money to enforce the orders and the laws, as in some countries, people got to say, the hell with the laws.
It looks like to me that you're purposely harming taxpayers.
Right. Can I answer that assertion?
Do you agree that you've cut the use of taxpayer fees or user fees to pay for customer assistance? Is that correct?
That money was moved to, in fact, fund the IT necessary for implementing the statutory mandate that Congress passed.
The IRS, by its own admission, is saying let's do less with less. And the IRS's choices, and I would argue that they are choices, on how to allocate resources have been deeply disappointing.
Congressman Peter Roskam joins us. Nice to see you, sir.
Thank you, Greta.
Okay, why does the IRS service the American people when they have questions so rotten?
They have cut customer service themselves. The IRS was appropriated $10.9 billion. The Congress appropriated money into the account in order to meet customer service needs. The IRS moved that money out, and their service was, by the commissioner's own admission, abysmal.
Right.
They cut themselves.
Did the commissioner himself do that or know that's being done, and is it illegal that they did that?
Look, I don't know about if it's illegal, but it's wrong, and it is displacing money that should be going to service customers. This is like the school board that doesn't pass a referendum, and then they come in and they say, all right, here's what we're going to do. We're going to cut the orchestra, and we're going to cut the football team. We're not going to deal with the principal in charge of looking out the window.
You know, it's just terrible, though, because, you know, the good American people want to pay their taxes. They have a few questions for the IRS, and the time that they sit on hold is like a half an hour or something. If they get their questions asked me, it's just so appalling. I'd be ashamed to run the IRS if I were in charge of the IRS.
It's millions of phone calls. And what we did today in this hearing was we showed, look, here's where the money is. $60 billion in bonuses that were paid out, 500,000 hours in paid union activity supported by the American taxpayer, $2.1 million going to a white shoe law firm with $1,000 an hour paid by billed by partners.
What law firm?
I don't know off the top of my head. I mean,
they ought to be named. I mean, why? I mean, they got a lot of lawyers there. Why can't the IRS use the lawyers inside?
Look, that's a great point. $100 million for enforcement that they've used. They took money out of this account, put it on the enforcement side. $100 million that the IRS could do every year, according to the GAO and the Inspector General, if they did private debt collection.
Why does Congress tolerate this?
Well, we're making some progress. So here's two areas where we're making progress based on the work of the subcommittee. One is on civil forfeitures, an issue that you and I have talked about in the past. The IRS has changed their policies. That's good news. Today, the commissioner said on their past practice, where you and I have talked, where they've hired people that they have fired, today he said, we're not going to do that anymore. So the ability to raise these issues and bring people's attention to them do change behavior, but there's a lot of work to do.
To me, it's just not good enough. I read the stories every single day. I get the emails from viewers, the ones who are suffering, who get the liens. I mean, all the mean, rotten things that happen at the hands of the IRS. So question is, it's not getting better in my view. So should Koskinen, the commissioner, go?
I don't know if he should go. He needs to do a better job. And Congressman Mike Kelly today said to send a missive out to the entire staff of all IRS employees to say we're not going to do more than with less. Koskinen said we're going to do less with less. And that's a disposition and an attitude that I think is underperforming.
All right. The Congressman, right after today's hearing on the records, Griff Jenkins spoke directly with IRS Commissioner Koskinen. Here's what he said.
Our goal was to provide as much taxpayer service as we could with the funds we had. We've cut our enforcement activities. It was raised some question, should I be publicizing that? But, you know, you have to understand that we're not just taking it out of taxpayer service. We actually have serious problems in enforcement, and we had no choice. We had to, in fact, run this filing season. We had to implement the Foreign Account Tax Compliance Act. We had to implement the back end of the Affordable Care Act. So that money wasn't willy-nilly just easily moved. We knew that it was going to not help taxpayer service, but if the filing season had gone badly, this hearing would have been, why'd you do that? Why didn't you take money from elsewhere and make sure the filing worked? So we had no choice. The filing season worked. It went more smoothly than anybody, including me, would have expected. And it's because we put the resources into it that were necessary, required. It was not a choice we made. And if we had to do over again, we would do the same thing.
For the taxpayers, they see, okay, customer service is bad. It was horrible, abysmal, I think you called it this year. But yet they see employees of the IRS getting financial rewards. How do you defend that?
I defend that they get their performance awards, and the people who get them because they did great performance as we go forward. And it's a little like the issue, you know, do we shut the place down? Do we not give people pay raises? We could not pay people as much, and you put the money into customer service, and ultimately we'd have an inefficient, demoralized workforce.
Congressman, the commissioner says that Congress cut $1.2 billion from their budget, so that's one of the reasons why they can't provide services. He also says, though, that the bonuses were for extraordinary or good work. Were bonuses justified?
I don't think so. I don't think you give out $60 million in bonuses when they're under duress like this. I think there's also a straw man argument that the commissioner is using, and that is that the only way to do a good job on the rollout side is to somehow cut enforcement. And we were able today to show, look, the GAO has studied this issue. The Inspector General for Treasury has studied this issue. If you go to a private debt collector, the IRS will get $100 million. So on the one hand, he's arguing that money is fungible, and on the other hand, he's arguing that money is not fungible. The IRS doesn't get it both ways.
Is he hurting the American people?
I think, look, if you're a normal taxpayer and you are pressing up your nose against the glass trying to figure out how to deal with a very complicated tax code, you need the Internal Revenue Service there, and they weren't there.
Does he care? Does he want to be there for them?
Well, I mean, I think that the choices that they made were bad choices.
But how can you make it? I mean, look, if you're paying $60 million in bonuses, you know people are going to on the phone for half an hour, and usually people are sitting on the phone for half an hour because they have questions, is because they really have good questions, but not because they have an extra half hour and want to listen to some stupid music on hold.
No, that's a fair point. And the other thing is, I guess the maddening part, I think, for most people, Greta, is the false claim that there is not enough money. There is plenty of money. And Congress today, not only in the past have the appropriators demonstrated this, but the Oversight Subcommittee demonstrated this time and time and time again.
I think the thing that's particularly painful is that these are the people who actually are trying to pay their taxes.
Yeah, that's
trying to be great Americans and do the right thing, and they are being stifled by the IRS and by really rotten service.
99% of Americans pay voluntarily. We've got to defend that.
Congressman, thank you, sir.
Thanks, Greta.